It began with silence, the kind that seeps into your bones and lingers like a bruise, the kind that follows you from childhood into adulthood, a shadow you can't outrun. My name is Emily Harper, and this isn't just a story of pain, it's a reckoning. My daughter, Sophie, is 6 years old. She's a burst of light with a laugh that could melt glaciers and a heart so big she once gave her favorite stuffed bunny to a boy who dropped his ice cream at the park. She says thank you without prompting and draws pictures for our elderly neighbor just to see her smile. Sophie doesn't know cruelty, or at least she didn't until my sister turned her into a punchline. This is the story of how a family gathering in suburban Atlanta, Georgia became the stage for betrayal, how my parents' laughter became the soundtrack of my daughter's humiliation, and how I fought back, not just for her, but for the pieces of myself I'd buried under years of silence. It was a humid Saturday in July, the kind where the air sticks to your skin. My parents' sprawling house in Roswell, a wealthy suburb of Atlanta, was the setting for our family gathering. I hadn't wanted to go. These events always left me feeling like an outsider, the lesser daughter in a family that worshipped perfection. But Sophie begged to see her cousin, Ethan, my sister Lauren's son. They're the same age, inseparable when together, and Sophie's eyes lit up at the thought of playing with him. So, I said yes, packing a bag of store-brand chips and soda, knowing they'd be judged but hoping it wouldn't matter. The moment we arrived, the familiar chill settled in. My mother, Patricia, glanced at my plastic grocery bag and raised an eyebrow. Really, Emily? You couldn't spring for something better? My father, Richard, didn't look up from his iPad, scrolling through stock market updates. Lauren, my older sister, greeted us with a smile as sharp as glass. Em, you made it, she said, her voice dripping with condescension. She knelt to Sophie's level, her designer perfume overwhelming. Go find Ethan, sweetie. He's in the backyard. Sophie scampered off, her ponytail bouncing. I headed to the kitchen, where I was handed a sponge by my mother. Ethan spilled juice on the floor earlier. Clean it up, would you? No greeting, no warmth, just an order. It was my role, the invisible helper, the one who didn't shine like Lauren, the golden child with her perfect life, perfect job, and perfect son. The afternoon unfolded as expected. I scrubbed counters, refilled drinks, and ignored the subtle jabs. My mother's sigh when I tripped over a chair, my father's muttered clumsy as ever. But I stayed for Sophie, who was giggling somewhere with Ethan. Or so I thought. It was late afternoon when I noticed the laughter from the kids had stopped. The house felt too quiet, except for a low hum of whispers from the hallway. My cousin Jenna passed by, her face pale. Emily, you need to see this, she murmured, avoiding my eyes. I pushed open the door to the living room, and my world tilted. Sophie was on her knees, her small hands clutching the edges of my parents' dog's bowl, a chipped ceramic dish labeled Rufus. It was filled with soggy Cheerios and milk. Around her, a circle of mockery, Lauren holding her phone, recording, Ethan pointing and chanting, Puppy, puppy! My parents sat on the leather sectional, sipping iced tea, their laughter soft but unmistakable. Sophie looked up, her brown eyes glistening with tears. Mommy, it's just a game, right? She whispered, her voice trembling. Something inside me shattered. What the hell is this? I demanded, my voice shaking. Lauren lowered her phone, smirking. Relax, Em. It's just a prank. Sophie was laughing earlier. You're filming my daughter eating from a dog bowl. I stepped forward, my hands trembling. My mother waved a dismissive hand. Oh, Emily, don't be so dramatic. It's harmless. She needs to toughen up. It's abuse, I snapped, scooping Sophie into my arms. Her small body was warm, her face buried in my shoulder. You humiliated her. Humiliated? Lauren laughed. She's fine. You're the one making a scene. And what are you going to do about it, Emily? My father added, finally looking up from his iPad. Ruin everyone's day over a joke? I didn't answer. I carried Sophie to the car, buckling her in with shaking hands. I'm sorry, baby, I whispered, kissing her forehead. I shouldn't have brought you here. She nodded, her eyes distant, and I saw it. The crack in her innocence, the first shadow of shame. That night, I sat in my car outside our small apartment in Decatur, my heart pounding with rage. Memories flooded back. My childhood as the difficult daughter, the one who cried too easily, who was never as pretty or poised as Lauren. They'd called me weak, oversensitive, a burden. Now they were doing the same to Sophie, and I wouldn't let it stand. After tucking Sophie into bed, I opened my laptop and documented everything. The time, 4:37 p.m., the place, my parents' living room, the witnesses, Jenna, my Uncle Mark, and others. I saved screenshots of Lauren's Instagram story where she'd posted the video with the caption, "My niece thinks she's a puppy. Too cute, though just a joke." It had 67 likes, including one from my mother who commented, "She's too soft, just like her mom." I didn't sleep. The next morning, I called a family law attorney in Atlanta, Sarah Coleman. I told her everything: the video, the laughter, the emotional toll on Sophie. She leaned back in her chair, her expression serious. "This could be a tough case, Emily. Family disputes get messy, and courts don't always take emotional harm seriously. Are you ready for this?" "It's already messy," I said. "I want custody restrictions for Sophie, a restraining order against Lauren, and a defamation claim for that video." Sarah nodded. "We'll need a strong case. Document every detail, past incidents, patterns of behavior. We'll subpoena Lauren's social media and get a child psychologist to evaluate Sophie." "But this will fracture your family. Are you sure?" "I'm sure," I said, my voice steady. "They crossed a line. I didn't tell my parents or Lauren about the lawsuit. I let them think their silence would protect them, but silence was about to become their undoing. Over the next 2 weeks, I became a detective in my own life. I gathered evidence of years of favoritism and neglect, old emails where my mother dismissed my achievements, text messages where Lauren mocked my parenting, and journal entries from my teenage years detailing how I was always the scapegoat. I contacted Jenna, who agreed to testify about what she saw. My uncle Mark, though hesitant, provided a written statement. I took Sophie to Dr. Rachel Nguyen, a child psychologist in Midtown Atlanta. After 2 sessions, Dr. Nguyen reported that Sophie showed signs of humiliation-based trauma. "She's withdrawn, mentions feeling stupid for falling for the game," Dr. Nguyen said. "This wasn't a prank. It was targeted harm." I saved every piece of evidence, including Lauren's Instagram story, which she'd deleted after I confronted her, but not before I'd downloaded it. I also found comments on her other posts, where friends laughed about the puppy video. Each one fueled my resolve. Meanwhile, Sophie struggled. She stopped drawing for a week, her crayons untouched. One night, she woke up crying, saying, "I don't want to be a dog again." I held her, promising no one would hurt her like that again. But inside, I was burning. 3 weeks after the incident, I drove to my parents' house in Roswell, not for a visit, but to deliver a legal notice. I handed the envelope to my father, who stood in the doorway in his golf polo, frowning. "What's this?" he asked, glancing at the envelope. "A lawsuit," I said calmly. "Lauren fed my daughter from a dog bowl. You laughed. This is the consequence." He scoffed. "You're suing your sister over cereal? You're unhinged, Emily." My mother appeared, her face tight with anger. "Do you know what this will do to Lauren's career? She's up for a promotion at her marketing firm. No one hires someone with a lawsuit hanging over them." "She should have thought of that before humiliating my child," I said. "You're jealous," my mother spat. "You've always been jealous of Lauren's success." "This isn't about me," I said, meeting her gaze. "It's about Sophie." I turned and left, their voices fading behind me. Lauren's next Instagram post was a selfie outside a Buckhead cafe, captioned, "Family drama got me like Nasa over it." She thought she could laugh it off. She was wrong. The hearing was held at the Fulton County Courthouse in downtown Atlanta, a towering building of glass and steel. Inside, the courtroom was cold, the air heavy with anticipation. Lauren sat across from me, her lawyer whispering in her ear. My parents sat behind her, their faces a mix of defiance and discomfort. Sophie was with a sitter. I didn't want her here for this. Sarah presented our case with precision. She played Lauren's video, the sound of Ethan's chants and my parents' laughter filling the room. The judge, a woman in her 50s with a no-nonsense demeanor, watched without expression. "Is this your video, Ms. Lauren Harper?" the judge asked. Lauren shifted in her seat, her confidence faltering. "Yes, Your Honor. But it was just a joke. Sophie was laughing at first." The judge turned to Dr. Nguyen, who took the stand. "Sophie Harper exhibits signs of emotional distress," she said. "She's expressed shame and fear of being mocked again. This wasn't a harmless prank. It caused psychological harm." My parents fidgeted. Lauren's face paled. Then it was my turn. I stood, my voice steady despite the knot in my chest. "My family has always favored Lauren," I said. "I was the difficult one, the one they ignored or mocked. I stayed silent to keep the peace. But when they humiliated my daughter, I couldn't stay silent anymore. Sophie deserves better." I sat down, my hands trembling, not from fear, but from the weight of finally speaking my truth. The judge's voice cut through the silence. "This court finds that the actions depicted constitute intentional infliction of emotional distress on a minor. Ms. Lauren Harper, you are ordered to complete a child sensitivity training program and are prohibited from unsupervised contact with Sophie Harper. Due to the public dissemination of the video, Ms. Emily Harper may pursue a civil defamation claim." Lauren's mouth fell open. "Wait, what?" The judge turned to my parents. "Your inaction during this incident is noted. Should Ms. Harper seek a restraining order, it will be considered valid." My mother's face twisted with rage, but she said nothing. Outside the courthouse, Lauren broke down, her mascara streaking as she sobbed. Her promotion was in jeopardy, her social media presence tainted. I didn't stay to watch. I took Sophie's hand and walked away, the Atlanta skyline sharp against the sky. The weeks that followed were quiet but heavy. Lauren deleted her Instagram, her usual stream of selfies and brunches gone. My parents called once, accusing me of overreacting, of ruining Lauren's life. I didn't argue. I was done explaining. Then came a call from Sophie's school, a private academy in Buckhead where she'd been waitlisted. "We followed your case," the principal said. "Your dedication to your daughter is inspiring. We'd like to offer Sophie a full scholarship." I cried after hanging up, not from sadness but from hope. That same week, I signed a lease for a townhouse in Virginia Highland, a charming Atlanta neighborhood. It had a small backyard where Sophie could plant her daisies, her favorite flower. She started drawing again, her sketchbook filled with bright colors, but I wasn't done. My grandfather had left me 50% ownership of my parents' Roswell house when he passed, a fact they'd conveniently ignored. I'd never exercised that power, until now. I contacted a real estate attorney and filed for a forced sale of the property. My father was livid when he found out. "You can't take our home!" he shouted over the phone. "We raised you!" "You raised me to stay quiet while you laughed at my daughter's pain," I said. My mother called next, her voice venomous. "You're bitter, Emily. You think this makes you strong?" "No," I said. "It makes me free." The sale went through. My parents fought it, but the law was clear. They were served a 60-day eviction notice. My mother showed up at my door, not to apologize, but to scream. "You've destroyed this family!" she yelled. "You did that?" I said. "The day you laughed at a crying girl on the floor?" Sophie stood behind me, clutching her sketchbook. My mother's tone shifted, syrupy sweet. "Is that my little artist?" "Grandma brought cookies." "You're not her grandma," I said, my voice firm. "You lost that privilege when you chose cruelty." She dropped the cookie tin and left. I closed the door, shutting out her legacy. 6 months later, the house was sold. Instead of keeping the money, I partnered with a nonprofit in Atlanta that supported children who'd faced family bullying. We turned the property into a community art center called Sophie's Studio. On opening day, Sophie stood beside me in a yellow dress, holding oversized scissors for the ribbon cutting. The walls were lined with paintings, the shelves stocked with supplies, and cozy chairs invited kids to feel safe. "Mom, are you proud?" Sophie whispered. "More than you'll ever know," I said, tears in my eyes. Lauren never recovered her career. The court case followed her, a shadow on every job application. My parents moved to a small apartment in Marietta, their pride humbled. My mother sends Sophie birthday cards unsigned. I don't open them. Sophie's studio thrives. Kids come to paint, draw, and heal. There are bowls of fresh fruit on the tables, never dog dishes. And every time I see a child smile there, I know I didn't just win. I built something better. Sophie is 7 now. She laughs again, her drawings brighter than ever. And I've learned that love isn't earned through silence. It's built through courage, one step at a time.